Money isn't just a tool, it's a mirror. It doesn't simply buy things. It reflects your mind, your fears, and most perilously, who holds sway over you. Everyone craves it. Many chase it relentlessly. Yet very few grasp its true essence. Society labels it currency, success, freedom. But for Machiavelli, money wasn't any of these. To him, money was influence given tangible form. And he cautioned, if you fail to understand how wealth manipulates, distracts, and exposes people, you will be enslaved by it, even while you believe yourself free. Here's the harsh truth. Most people don't serve money. They serve the illusion that possessing it will make them powerful. Machiavelli saw power differently. He had no interest in opulent living or luxurious indulgence. What fascinated him was the way money could bend others without raising a single weapon. So let's start with the first rule. Machiavelli would teach not how to acquire money, but how money moves people. Rule 1. Money is not power. It merely exposes it. You've seen it countless times. A man lands a high-paying role. A woman inherits a fortune. A startup secures millions in funding. Suddenly their demeanor shifts. They become louder, bolder, arrogant, convinced that wealth itself has transformed them. But watch carefully. The truly powerful remain unchanged. Only the weak reveal themselves. Money does not forge character, it magnifies it. It uncovers what was always there. The coward hides behind prestige. The manipulator only gives when it serves their interest. The fool splurges on symbols of intellect he doesn't possess. The first Machiavelli lesson is clear. Don't chase money to feel powerful. Pursue power, discipline, strategy, reputation, and let money be the signal of your control, not its source. Otherwise, you could amass wealth and remain weak. And there's nothing more pitiful than someone who possesses money but lacks presence, a person who owns possessions but commands no respect. Machiavelli observed kings tumble, not from scarcity, but from believing their gold alone demanded fear. True power, he taught, is when people respond differently even before you speak, not because of what you own, but because of the strength of your mind. Rule 2, wealth without mystery is vulnerability. Modern society worships display. Watches, cars, designer chains, public net worth, it's all worn as personality. Machiavelli would see this not as strength, but as exposure. The more you flaunt, the more you invite calculation. Power lies in the subtle art of concealment. If your wealth shouts louder than your strategy, you've already lost. You've revealed your target. The Machiavelli approach? Build quietly. Accumulate systematically, not flamboyantly. Let others underestimate you. Let them misjudge your true capacity. There's nothing more dangerous than a person whose power is unmeasurable. Let them think you're merely surviving, while secretly orchestrating the entire board. That is the silent architecture of kingship. Rule 3, never rely on money you don't control. This is where most people fail. They assume income equals power. But if your money can be frozen, taxed, confiscated, or erased by another, you don't own wealth, you rent it. Dependence is slavery disguised as comfort. Once your survival hinges on another's decision, you are no longer free. Machiavelli built fortresses around his wealth. Multiple unseen streams of income, assets that cannot be touched, financial systems independent of trends or approval. When others depend on you financially, confrontation becomes unnecessary. Fear becomes irrelevant. Obedience flows without command, compromise without coercion. That is authentic power, not through intimidation, not through fame, but via financial gravity. Others orbit you, not by force, but by your structure's undeniable pull. This, Machiavelli asserted, is the essence of wealth. Not money, not riches, but influence that compounds silently. Without mastering this, you'll spend life earning for others, trapped under the illusion of security, while someone else decides your rise or fall. So don't merely chase income. Build independence, the unseen kind, the untouchable kind. Master this, and you won't need to display power. You'll feel it in every fearless step, every calm refusal, every room where you stand, needing nothing from anyone. This is how money truly works, not through obsession, not through display, but through strategy so profound the world calls it luck, while you keep building, quietly, relentlessly. If you truly want to grasp how money operates, forget everything you've been taught about spending, saving, or investing it. Machiavelli would insist, learn how it shapes behavior, because money is not merely a resource, it's a lever, a mechanism designed to influence minds, alter decisions, and reveal weakness. It acts as a mirror for your values and a magnet for your vices. The moment you start seeing money not as a reward, but as a pressure system, your entire perspective shifts. This leads us to the fourth law of Machiavellian wealth. Rule 4. Money is the ultimate test of loyalty. People claim they love you. They swear allegiance. They promise never to betray. Then money enters the equation, and suddenly you see who they truly are. Unlike words, love, or promises, money forces choices. It creates trade-offs, temptations, and threats. Can someone control over your income? And watch how quickly kindness turns conditional. Offer someone a bribe, and notice how fast loyalty becomes negotiable. Or even subtler, observe what happens when you earn and they don't. Your success becomes uncomfortable. Your progress threatens them. Your rise becomes evidence that they've been left behind. Machiavelli never trusted those who only praised him in poverty. He observed how they responded when wealth appeared. Did they celebrate? Or did jealousy consume them? Did they ask how they could assist? Or did they question what you had done to deserve it? Money doesn't change people. It exposes what they were pretending not to be. This is why a Machiavellian never flaunts wealth. He wields it as a tool to test character silently. A subtle offer, a position, an opportunity, a hint of advantage isn't meant as a gift but as a mirror. If arrogance appears, he retracts. If clinginess surfaces, he distances. If greed shows itself, he cuts ties. Wealth becomes a filter. Not everyone deserves to sit near your financial fire. Some are loyal only in the cold and forget who built the flames when warmed. Your task is not secrecy for its own sake, it's observation. See how people respond to perceived riches, and let their reactions reveal who they really are. Rule 5. The weak worship money. The strong control access to it. There are two kinds of people, those who want money, and those who understand that others want it even more and exploit that desire to command influence. The weak chase wealth. The strong build systems that make others financially dependent. Machiavelli never idolized gold. He studied its effect, and he discovered what many still miss. The one who controls the flow of money governs the behavior of all who crave it. That's why kings had courtiers, lords had vassals, and billionaires today don't argue. They allocate. To become powerful, stop begging for income. Start thinking like an architect. Ask yourself, how can I create something others cannot live without? How can I transform skill into leverage? How can I shift from being the consumer to becoming the source? The one who writes the checks never pleads. The one who owns the table doesn't request a seat. When you control the flow of money, others manipulate themselves to gain access. This is the game, not working harder, not earning more, but constructing value that others revolve around. And the less accessible you are, the more potent that orbit becomes. Machiavelli never believed in generosity for applause. He believed in deliberate patronage, not for gratitude, but for insight. Observe patterns. Who becomes entitled? Who remains loyal? Who mistakes your favor as permanent? That's how allies are revealed and opportunists exposed. This brings us to the sixth rule. Rule 6. Always let them think money is the prize. Wars are won without fighting when others chase the check, the promotion, the inheritance, the title. While they run, you observe, you build silent influence. You listen to what is unsaid. You act deliberately, steadily, without celebrating minor victories or reacting to small setbacks. A true Machiavellian understands money is the bait. The real prize is power. Let others rejoice in raises. You focus on owning the systems behind the paychecks. Let them argue over percentages. You concentrate on positioning. Let them labor for years. They build careers. You build dependency. Money fades, but the debt of value, social, emotional, psychological, lasts a lifetime. The wise don't amass wealth for admiration. They accumulate it to create freedom, to walk away from paths others crawl toward, to say no while others beg for yes. Machiavelli would never flaunt wealth. He would sit, observe reactions when money is mentioned, and determine who is useful, dangerous, or predictable. That is true control, not through noise, not through greed, but through understanding how money exposes the hidden self. Master this, and you won't just earn money, you'll control the machine behind it. You'll never chase it blindly again. To those who fail to understand money, it appears to be everything. Yet to those who truly grasp it, money is nothing more than a lever that functions only because people believe in the illusion behind it. And what is that illusion? It isn't wealth, it's security. At its core, money doesn't promise power. It promises safety, safety from discomfort, from instability, from the unknown. Machiavelli understood this deeply. The most loyal servants are not those who earn the largest salaries. They are the ones who fear the world without you. This leads to the seventh law of Machiavellian wealth. Rule 7. Use money to create comfort, then control the fear of losing it. People don't labor solely for money. They work to preserve the life that money affords them. Once someone becomes accustomed to a certain income, lifestyle, or status, they become emotionally tethered to it. Their identity fuses with the privileges that money provides. Offer just enough comfort, just enough status, just enough visibility, and observe what happens when they sense it slipping. They'll compromise, overextend, self-censor, obey. This is not cruelty, it's structure. It's understanding that economic anxiety shapes decisions, far more than rational thought ever could. Machiavelli applied this principle strategically, never through overt threats. He allowed people to feel the edges of discomfort subtly, delayed a payment, withdrew a favor, redirected attention elsewhere, made them wonder, not panic, whether they had lost their standing. In that nuanced uncertainty, people reveal the depth of their dependence on their comfort. Here is the harsh truth. Most people will do anything to avoid regression, not out of greed, but because they equate their self-worth with their standard of living. The game is not to give someone money, it's to give them an identity that money sustains. Then watch how far they will go to preserve it. This is how empires were maintained, not through blood, but through salaries, ceremonies, and fragile symbols of privilege. When comfort feels earned but remains precarious, control is absolute without a single raised voice. Now let's venture into even darker waters. Rule 8. The rich are not respected, they are measured. The world believes that wealth automatically commands admiration. Show off status, flaunt possessions, and people assume respect will follow. Machiavelli saw through this illusion. When you display wealth, you do not impress, you invite scrutiny. People measure what you have, what you waste, your deficits in taste or restraint, and what it would take to replace you. Wealth draws admiration, only from those beneath you, those who desire what you possess. The truly powerful do not admire your lifestyle, they measure your moves. When you operate from insecurity, seeking to appear rich instead of moving wisely, you attract predators. People smile at your success while cataloging your weaknesses, waiting to exploit the appearance of your power. Machiavelli's advice: never show the world how much you need their admiration. They will use it to trap you. The Machiavellian's approach to wealth is counterintuitive. He doesn't display it. He demonstrates discipline, precision, influence, not indulgence. He may own everything, yet no one can measure the full extent of his empire. That invisibility is his edge. A quiet rich man is dangerous because he seeks no validation and fears no judgment. This leads to the most psychologically dominant principle. Rule 9. Become unshakable without it. Most people fear losing money because they fear losing themselves, their identity, their sense of worth. The Machiavellian masters non-attachment. He earns, uses, multiplies money, but never lets it define him. The most powerful message in any arena, business, politics, war, or love is, I can walk away. And you cannot. That single fact rewrites every interaction. People pursue you, not because you are wealthier, but because you are free. You don't need the deal, the spotlight, or anyone's approval. Even if all money vanished, you could rebuild it, not through luck, not by pleading, but through the very architecture that made you formidable. Self-control, awareness, leverage, patience. Money is not random, mystical, or spiritual. It is a machine. Those who master it do so with detachment, precision, and strategy. They operate quietly, surgically, unattached, unapologetic, immune to manipulation. The world shifts not when you get rich, but when you become the force that determines who else does. At that point, money ceases to be the goal. It becomes what it was always meant to be, an extension of your mind. Not your master, not your identity, but a mirror, one that reflects not what you possess, but who you have become. To truly master money in the Machiavellian sense, you must stop treating it like a finish line. Money is not an endpoint or a trophy, it is a weapon. And like any weapon, its potency lies not in possession, but in the precision with which it is wielded. This principle leads us to the 10th law of real financial power. Rule 10. He who controls the flow controls the frame. Machiavelli never trusted appearances. He understood that power does not reside in the hands of the person who hoards treasure. It lies with the one who decides where it flows. In the modern world, this translates clearly. You can be rich and still powerless. You can be wealthy and yet easily replaced. But if you control the distribution of value, the attention and actions of others bend around you, not out of admiration, not out of love, but because they need what you control. This is the power of positioning. You do not aim to be the wealthiest person in the room. You aim to be the one who writes the checks, sets the rules, decides the budget, or directs the spotlight. Machiavelli understood that the dispenser of resources holds invisible authority. People will flatter, obey, even fear you, not because of threats, but because their livelihood is tied to your hand. Your silence becomes a signal. Your pause becomes pressure. Your absence becomes a punishment. This is why kings did not merely hoard gold. They created dependencies, not for the sake of servitude, but because they understood a fundamental law of power. People do not follow wealth, they follow its source. And that source must always appear limited, mysterious, and unpredictable. You never grant universal access. You never explain exactly how you earned it. You let others guess, wonder, and worry. Because uncertainty breeds automatic loyalty. People avoid crossing you not out of fear, but out of the anxiety of losing access to something they cannot replace. This is not just financial leverage, it is behavioral control. Which brings us to the next level of wealth architecture. Rule 11. Never teach them the system. Let them depend on the outcome. In today's world, everyone wants to be a guru, flaunting blueprints, selling methods, and packaging their success into tutorials. The Machiavellian does the opposite. He reveals the results but conceals the process. Once someone understands the system, they can replicate it, and once replication is possible, they no longer need you. Instead, give just enough to keep them engaged. Offer value, but not structure. Deliver results, but not the replicable mechanics. This is how historical empires maintained control. Elite families didn't merely build wealth, they cultivated secrecy. They taught their heirs to manage it, but never revealed the method to the masses. The more mysterious your success, the more mythic your image, and that image becomes a form of capital far beyond money. Psychological capital. People will follow your guidance, echo your words, and obey your strategy, not because they comprehend it, but because it works. Once they trust your results more than their own instincts, you control their financial narrative. You stop being just a source of money. You become a source of meaning. And once they perceive you in this way, they will never compete with you. They will strive only to remain near you. That is how you become irreplaceable. Rule 12. When you give, attach invisible strings. Machiavelli understood generosity differently from the world at large. While others saw giving as kindness, he saw it as leverage. He didn't give to be liked. He gave to create obligation. Human nature is clear. People rarely forget pain, but they remain bound by acts of unexpected help. When you give in a way that feels rare, targeted, and meaningful, recipients attach their sense of worth to that moment. They may never speak it aloud, but deep down, they feel a private debt. This is how alliances are formed, not through oaths of blood, but through strategic acts of charity. The key: never announce your giving, never expect gratitude, and never repeat the favor unless the power dynamic remains intact. Your help must feel both exceptional and non-recurring. This makes it sacred. People protect what they fear they might not receive again. You are not merely generous. You are irreplaceable at critical moments. From this arises guilt, loyalty, and quiet submission, not through manipulation but through memory. Once someone begins making decisions through the lens of what they owe you, leadership becomes unnecessary. They will follow autonomously. Machiavelli called this quiet dominance, the art of engineering the emotional economy around you, not through force but through unspoken obligation. And this brings us to the final stage, the ultimate evolution of financial mastery. Rule 13. Build a life where money is present but never loud. This is the line that divides the truly powerful from the merely rich. The rich cannot stop talking about money. They measure themselves by it, flaunt it, obsess over it. But the powerful, they don't need to speak of it at all. They operate in spaces where wealth is the floor, not the ceiling. The foundation, not the discussion. They do not surround themselves with those who idolize possessions. They surround themselves with individuals who grasp value instinctively, strategically, without emotion. They have transcended the chase. They no longer pursue wealth as an identity. They have reached a state of equilibrium, where money is not who they are, but what they use. That is the endgame. You don't want to be the person always talking about earnings, taxes, or deals. You want to be the one who sits quietly in the meeting, speaks sparingly, signs the check, and leaves while others are still arguing, posturing, or performing. That silence speaks louder than any boast. The Machiavellian walks through life unbothered by fluctuations. Markets rise, markets fall, it doesn't matter. He knows he owns more than he displays, controls more than he explains, and influences far more than he'll ever feel compelled to prove. That restraint is power. That invisibility is dominance. Because for the Machiavellian, money is never loud. It isn't frantic. It isn't desperate. It simply exists, always present, like a silent shadow behind every move, reminding the world that your authority doesn't come from what you own, but from the structure you've built, the discipline you maintain, and the mystery you never reveal. True power is not in the gold that shines. It is in the silence no one can decode.